Good morning. Sergeant First Class Reginald Knight, retired, reporting. The Supreme Court thought it was a good idea to grant Donald Trump blanket immunity for everything that he did in his first term in office. They did that so he could escape prosecution from actual crimes he committed and paved the way for him to skirt justice, campaign across the nation, even with 34 felony convictions, and eventually end back up in the Oval Office. But now, in 2025, they have found themselves to be embroiled in an international dilemma. And I'm talking about the case of Abreu Garcia, who was kidnapped and sent to El Salvador along with 172 Venezuelans without any due process. So now the Supreme Court wants to fix some things that they broke, and in a 9-0 ruling decided that the Trump administration had to bring him back to the United States because he had committed no crime. There was no evidence that he was ever part of any sort of gang. And he is actually a United States citizen here legally. But on this Monday, friends, it is my strong conviction that the Trump administration cannot bring Mr. Garcia back from El Salvador, as the whispers are growing to yells that Mr. Garcia is no longer in the land of the living. So what we have here is the Supreme Court, the Trump administration, the Department of Justice are complicit in an international human trafficking, kidnapping, and possibly murder scheme. After strong rulings by the Supreme Court that insisted the Trump administration has to facilitate bringing Mr. Garcia back to the United States, the Trump administration said, no, we're not going to do that. We'll change his status when he comes back to the U.S., which is legal speak for we can't change something to a cadaver. I expect at some point they will finally spill the beans and admit that what they did to Mr. Garcia was illegal, it was unconscionable, it was immoral. But is there anything that Donald Trump does that's anything but the items I just mentioned? My heart goes out to the Garcia family, his wife and his children. But right now, my concern is that he is no longer alive. And this administration has given no evidence that that is not the case. Last item. They actually had the audacity to go before the same Supreme Court and argue that they should have the right to deport U.S. citizens to the same El Salvador prison as they see fit. We don't have to look over our shoulders to see if fascism is gaining on us. It's right in front of us. And it's gaining more and more traction every day. Sergeant First Class Reginald Knight, retired, reporting. If you like my videos, please like, share, and follow me on YouTube. Have a good Monday.